Hi, I'm Wallissimo, and as I detailed in my video last week, I'm currently in the throes of a writing slump. And for the next few weeks, I'm making a series of videos exploring all the different ways in which I'm trying to claw my way out. Now, last week I dealt with an internal issue, mainly the fact that I wasn't feeling connected with my main character. So this week I wanted to shift my attention to a more external issue. I decided I wanted to address my writing space, specifically the desk in my room, which I've unfortunately basically been treating as a dumping ground this summer. When I started this experiment last week, the desk itself was covered with old dishes, old letters, unopened letters, gum wrappers. Basically, it was a mess. I knew I needed to reintroduce intention into the space because as it was, there was nothing even remotely welcoming about it. Now, I would just like to preface this by saying I didn't go into this week expecting to fix my writing slump by organizing/cleaning my writing space. The issues I have right now, both external to the story and internal to the story, go way deeper than just a couple of old dishes left on a desk. But as simple as this step seems, I knew I didn't really have a chance of tackling the other issues to fix this slump if I didn't first have a space where I felt I could work. So even though this wasn't a sufficient task, it was definitely a necessary one in this writing slump journey. With that being said, I'm first going to walk you through the way that I organized my desk, and then I'm going to discuss a little bit how it's been going for the past week. First, I collected all like things, pens with other pens and writing utensils, which I placed initially in a cup, although we'll return to that. I also collected all of my filming equipment, like my extra battery packs and adapters for my tripods, and I placed them all in this little pink pouch that I used to carry my pens and pencils. I then cleared off all the trash and threw it away. I should have done this step first, but oh well. And then I had some choices to make. My desk had all sorts of writing related things in the shelves, but it also had other non-writing related items. There were letters I needed to open, stationery for me to write letters to my pen pals, a little painter's set for watercoloring. Now, theoretically, these are all items that make sense to keep on one's desk. If I want to write a letter, for example, it's nice to have the stationery on hand. But the point of this experiment wasn't just to organize my desk, it was to set up a space that would encourage me to write. And I had the sneaking suspicion that many of these items were actually just distractions to me. The stationery would make me want to write a letter to my pen pal. The watercolors were a reminder of all the hobbies I've been neglecting. Overall, I just kind of came to the conclusion that I've been avoiding my desk, A, because it was messy, but also B, because it was distracting. But I was a little bit at a loss at this point in the organization because while I didn't want those things present to distract me, I didn't just want to put them all in a drawer and close it up, because I'm very much an out of sight, out of mind kind of girl. And so if I were to do something like that, it would be even more likely that none of these things would be touched for the rest of the summer, and that wasn't my intention. So I came up with this thing that I'm calling my to-do list box. It's just an old Amazon box that I had lying around, and I took all the things on my desk that were distractors but not things I wanted to just forget about for weeks on end, and I put them in this box. And then I took them off my desk and removed them as distractions from the writing space. But the only way I allowed myself to do this was that I set an alarm on my phone to go off every day at 3 p.m. And it's a reminder to check my to-do list box and just spend about 20 or so minutes doing a task or two from the items in this box. And I have to admit, having had this be my practice for the past week, it's been working. Highly, highly recommend. Once I cleared everything off that I knew wasn't going to serve my writing process, I then just kind of sat and arranged for a little while. I kept my filming equipment within easy reach because I'm in a sort of stage right now where I actually find there's an accountability factor with filming, and so I tend to get more work done when I know I need to film a video. The secret is out. You guys are secretly part of the attempt to break the writing slump. I kept a couple of old journals and notebooks in one of the other cubbies, so I had easy places to jot ideas down. And I also decided against having my writing utensils in that cup. I wanted them a little bit easier to access, and I wanted to have a cup for if I ever made myself a tea or a hot chocolate. And in the other cubbies, I just placed several items that I felt I might need while working at my desk. Speaking of these more miscellaneous items, I tried to think preemptively about what sort of items I needed to keep around me or that I might need to reach for while I'm working. Basically, the idea here was to have these items on hand so my desire or my need to get up from the desk and leave is reduced. I brought a couple of candles, one for working on This Book is for October, and one for working on Project HR, as well as some other more administrative tasks. I also brought matches for these candles because more than once this summer I have sat down to work, wanted to light my candle, got up to go find some matches, and then allowed myself to get distracted by something or someone in the house. I also put my headphones in easy reach for those days in which the noises of the forest can be a little bit distracting. And I also kept a couple of coasters. Gotta protect that wood from condensation. I then cleaned up the floor around my desk because, yes, even an errant hair tie has been known to distract me. And I initially placed my to-do list box underneath the desk. I thought maybe having it there would make it easier when that 3 o'clock alarm rolled around, but I couldn't help but feel that I might sense it burning a hole in my pants as I was sitting at my desk, so I took it away and tucked it into a more obscure corner of my bedroom. That way I don't even sense its presence while I'm working at my desk. And that was my initial setup. But again, this video isn't just about a desk organization, it's about seeing how effective this was as an experiment. I wanted to see if this exercise actually helped. Well, after the first night, to no one's surprise, it got messy again. I had been doing a little character work on Project HR, so that's great, but I was really disheartened to know that after only 24 hours, my writing space was basically a disaster again. So I started instituting a new rule for myself, which is that at night before I'm allowed to get into bed, my desk has to be cleared off and closed up. That way, every single morning, I can open it up and be welcomed with a blank slate, if you will. And this did quite the trick. In this past week, I've sat down to work at this desk more times than I have in all the previous weeks of the summer combined. Now, unfortunately, very little of that work was in Project HR, I will admit. I did work a lot on This Book is for October, as well as some other non-writing related work. It was a very productive week, so I'm not gonna stick my nose up at that. But outside of that, there were some other just final touches that I did in the hopes of making this space even more welcoming for myself. I turned on the fairy lights I have hanging on that side of the room, which for some reason I haven't really lit at all this summer. I love them, they're cozy, they're warm, they make me so happy because I'm a true millennial. I also keep a phone charger in one of the cubbies, the same cubby that I have my headphones in, just because I did find I was reaching for that quite a bit this week, anytime I noticed that my phone was getting low on battery. And another thing that I did was order a new planner, because one of the smaller external issues I identified when I was making my lists, as I mentioned last week, of both internal and external issues that I thought could be contributing to my slump, one of them, a very small one, was that I was starting to feel that my planner was no longer serving me in the way that I wanted. Now, I didn't think I needed to make an entire video about this. It's kind of a smaller thing, so I figured I'd talk about it right here, and basically you get 2 tackled issues for the price of one. One of the things that was starting to bother me about my previous planner was that the to-do lists were too far from the actual part of the planner I use to structure my day, and I also didn't have a way in that previous planner to structure individual days in an hourly breakdown, which I'd convinced myself is what I needed to do in order to tackle some of the tasks for the slump. So I went ahead and I ordered a new golden coil planner. And then I remembered that in my room I have a notepad which has an hourly breakdown daily schedule as well as a small little to-do list. So you live and you learn. The new planner is lovely. She's a very nice cranberry for the fall and winter seasons. Every month she has a monthly overview, a goal tracker, a to-do list, and then weekly pages where the days are broken down by hourly tasks. I also included a weekly wellness spread because that's another aspect I'm trying to bring into my slump eradication task force. I also ordered a whole bunch of new markers and pens in the hopes that they would reinvigorate me to work and maintain this planner. And so far it's going really well. Now I fully recognize how minor, ridiculous, and expensive doing all of this seems. But when I was making those lists of the internal and external factors I suspected of causing my slump, I did so without judgment. And the plan is honestly to address each and every one of those things until there's no excuses left and we actually identify the root cause of the issue. So looking back on this week, even though I'm still definitely slumped, I can sort of imagine that I see water on the horizon line. It might be a mirage, or it might be the real deal, but I am starting to have at least a little glimmer of hope again, which I think is fantastic, especially compared to where I was last week. But we are definitely still in the thick of it, so there are many more tasks to tackle. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know any of your must-haves for your writing/workspace or any tips and tricks you have to keep yourself focused while you work. Theoretically, I'll have a video going up next Tuesday as I tackle yet another external factor, and I'm pretty sure this one is going to be a bit of a doozy. For me, maybe not so much for you. But until then, go be happy, go be healthy, and go write. Bye.